Sometimes these opinion videos serve more as, well, civic duties, because as I explained in a video on the 2026 regulations, I think it was last week or something like that, these online websites serve only to just, well, try and get some online clout through clicks, because if any of the rumours and made up stuff that they post actually does become true, then these websites end up looking like geniuses. The problem that comes with them is that they gain traction so easily. The Susie Wolf thing gained a ton of traction because, well, Toto Wolf, who seems to be public enemy #1 to anybody on Twitter who has a lion and Dutch flag in their screen names. And if a baseless accusation or rumour gets picked up by a very noisy section of a fan base, then you're going to get everybody clicking, sharing, and doing other bits and pieces, and your name in terms of your website is out there, until it's proven that it was all made up, and your site is then ignored by everybody after that. But when these sort of things come up, I like to turn these things into something I call humour the rumour, because I look at them as if, alright, what if this is true? Let's look at the wider picture here. Or in the case of the Susie Wolf news before Christmas, I think it was, we can pick it all apart and go, yeah, this is all made up. Don't bother looking too deeply into this because this is a non-issue. So essentially, the opinion pieces are divvied up into two sections. Pressing issues, which is the stuff that is happening, and humour the rumour, which is, well, almost like pre-fact checking, if you follow me. But one rumour that is persistent on the internet right now is that Daniel Ricciardo might be leaving Formula 1. Again, because, well, we've been in this situation a couple of times before, haven't we? Despite having some early success in the early part of his career at Red Bull, Danny Ric's career seems to have not gone the way he would have wanted it to go, or his fans would have wanted it to go, or, well, more specifically Australian fans would have wanted it to go. After the emergence of Verstappen, Danny Ric left to go to Renault, despite having beaten Verstappen in 2017, making him the only person to have beaten him over the course of the season, although there will be a list of caveats in the comments, no doubt. Well, I mean, Danny Kvyat beat Danny Ric in 2015, so swings and roundabouts. To date, he's got 8 wins in Formula 1, 7 of those being with Red Bull and the 8th being at Monza in 2021, when he led the two McLarens home in a 1-2 formation. Many would have thought that the win in Monza would have been a kick up the arse to get him back into a decent rhythm, and then he would start scoring podiums and heavy point scores for the rest of time. But he didn't, really. What you're left with is people on the internet calling him things like washed, because, well, at one point, this guy was touted as being a future world champion, but then, obviously, Verstappen happened. Verstappened. The Verstappening. Etc. Norris beat Ricciardo at every race thereafter, with the exception of the Russian and US Grand Prix. Norris also scored points in every race, while Ricciardo was unable to score in Turkey, Mexico, Qatar, and Abu Dhabi. In addition, Norris scored podiums 4 times over the course of 2021, while Ricciardo's only visit was when he won at Monza. But with the 2022 regulations inbound, it looked like both drivers would get a reset button because Norris had been there a little bit longer than Danny had, so he knew the car and team a little bit better. So for 2022, they should have been on equal footing, right? But it wasn't to be, because in 2022, Ricciardo only beat Norris 4 times all year. The first being the first race of the season in Bahrain, the second being at Baku, the third in Montreal, and the fourth at Mexico. Where Norris was scoring comfortable points finishes, Ricciardo could be well off, such as in Spain, Monaco, Silverstone, Zandvoort and Austin. Such was, McLaren chose to end his contract early and replace him with Oscar Piastri, whom they cleverly poached away from Alpine. I covered the saga at the time, which seems a long time ago if I'm being honest. That was back in, well, 2022 when I was in the old office and everything looked a lot worse than it does now. But as it was, one of the most popular drivers on the grid and one of the most popular drivers of the last 10 or 15 years was now without a seat, which caused a lot of mayhem online because people were thinking, well, he doesn't deserve this, he should have a seat, he won at Monza, he smiles a lot, etc. And it must have been demoralising because that next year Piastri got a sprint race victory while Danny was basically on the sidelines. In the interim, he was Red Bull's test driver and also AlphaTauri's reserve driver, and AlphaTauri had Nick De Vries and Yuki Tsunoda driving for them. Mid-season, Danny got a reprieve for his career because De Vries was binned off due to a lack of results, and Danny was given the opportunity to show what he could do again. While he'd actually started his career at the struggling HRT team, it was at Faenza he got his proper F1 break, having driven for the team when it was Toro Rosso. So with him knowing the setup there, it should have been an easy click back in for him to hit the ground running and being as fast as we know he could be. But it only lasted 2 race weekends, because at the 3rd race weekend at Zandvoort, he, well, crashed and broke his hand, so he was going to be out for 4 races, and Liam Lawson was now replacing him. When he came back, he scored only once, while Tsunoda scored 3 times, and the only 2 times he beat Tsunoda all season were at the Hungarian Grand Prix where he came back, and in Mexico where he scored those only points. And it was one of those occasions where people were thinking, well, hang on a minute, this guy has a lot of experience. He's proven that he can drive on multiple occasions. He beat Verstappen one year. He made Vettel quit Red Bull for Ferrari and won 3 races in 2014 while Vettel won none. So why has he been dumped on by someone with far less experience? So this then leads into these rumours that are now circulating online. The rumours are that Ricciardo has been given an ultimatum of sort it out or you're gone by the summer, with people pointing to Liam Lawson as being the one to replace him. Ricciardo has been outqualified by Tsunoda every race except for China, and had been on course to score points until Stroll arse-ended him behind the safety car, which probably would have got him off the mark for the season. As it stands, Yuki has 7 points and Ricciardo has 0, although you could argue he would have points if it wasn't for Stroll putting the Canadian destroyer on him. Either way, that hit will in turn hurt the confidence a bit. Ollie Behrman has points and he was just dumped in the car with 0 practice. So while some are saying that the rumours are improved by the summer or be binned off, the race said in their recent pieces on the whole thing that the ultimatum could be as soon as the next race, which is in Miami. And speaking of, there's Miami Grand Prix swag now on the F1 store. Use the affiliate link in the description and I get some lunch money. And in turn, this is all part of the wider problem that Red Bull currently has because of, well, everything that's been going on behind the scenes lately. Because let's face it, only Verstappen is safe. Perez is probably going to be shown the door, and Toto Wolff is winding up Christian Horner by putting bids in for Verstappen. This isn't going to be helping things given the whole text message and female employees suing Red Bull stuff that is going on behind the scenes. This all forms the wider power struggle rumour because there's the rumours that the Verstappen family and Helmut Marko want Christian Horner gone. It's all mental, isn't it? I know I haven't covered any of the WhatsApp stuff. I probably will when something more concrete has revealed itself. I know none of this is concrete, but if Red Bull fans really have been tracking this woman down on LinkedIn and then abusing her, then, well, I'm not adding fuel to that fire. Now, speaking of fires, all of this getting Ricciardo out thing has got a little bit of this guy, that guy going on, because it turns out that Marko really likes Lawson and wants him in the seat as soon as possible, while Horner likes Ricciardo and wanted him back in a seat. But it has to be said that while these rumours of improved by this race or you're gone are flying around at the minute, none of this has actually been communicated to Ricciardo at any point. That's either by Horner, Marko, or the Visa credit card contactless payment crypto bollocks Alfa Rosso Racing Tauri balls. However, we can't write it all off just yet. New chassis in China meant that Ricciardo was 14th in sprint qualifying, 11th in the sprint race, and then 12th in real qualifying. He wasn't just beating Tsunoda that weekend, he was demolishing him. As the race mentioned, the new chassis eliminates the last of the excuses for him being off, and now he's got to keep that form going over the next few races to see whether this is one of those one-offs, or if he really has got his mojo back. Remember, Ricciardo has, in the past, gone quite well in China. But as I said a couple of years ago when Ricciardo lost his seat last time, it is looking quite sad. Okay, yes, he smiles a lot and he is funny and he won at Monza, but after leaving Red Bull where he was touted as being a future champion, he went off to Renault, which was seen as a backward step, and being done simply because where the hell else was he supposed to go? Mercedes had Hamilton and Bottas, Ferrari had Vettel and Leclerc, and really the Renault seat had been there for him because Sainz had gone to McLaren and, well yeah, where else was he going to go? So if Ricciardo is axed from AlphaTauri, Toro Rosso, Credit Cards R Us, whatever they're called this week, what does he do for his career now? Because surely in Formula 1, if he is booted again, he's got to be done. That is, unless Lawrence Stroll does the unthinkable and bins off his own son from Aston Martin. A pairing of Alonso and Ricciardo at Aston Martin does sound pretty spicy, to be honest. There's also an opportunity to maybe partner fellow ex-Red Bull driver Albon over at Williams, but will that be too much of a backward step for him? The guy wants to win, and as much as I love Williams, that's not going to win unless they find some sort of miracle hack with car development over the winter. There's certainly no way he's going to Alpine because, well, they're shit. And if Sainz doesn't go to Red Bull alongside Verstappen, then it's very likely it'll be him in one of the Audi seats with maybe Bottas alongside. So, NASCAR or IndyCar then? I mean, NASCAR does sound like a good plan because he's a big fan of Dale and he wears the number 3 because of those good red Chevrolets, but he said he hates ovals. So, IndyCar then? I reckon he'd fit in quite well over there, and it would be a good commercial opportunity for IndyCar at the same time, because Lord knows they need one. As well as that, you've got fellow Southern Hemisphere drivers. You've also got Will Power, you've got Scott McLaughlin, and you've got Scott Dixon. So another Aussie in that Anzac group. Be pretty cool. Because at the minute, Ricciardo is looking like this generation's Jenson Button, or maybe even Martin Brundle. Journeyman driver that always seems to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. A lot of promise to now be shuffling around in the mid-pack or the back of the mid-pack, being a mere shadow of what he was achieving 6 years ago. But this is all stuff that I'm sure you'll have fun debating down in the comments. Because we know he's good. We know he can be quick. It's just, well, it seems like he's fallen off the face of a cliff. So could this season really be the last we see of him? He's going to be 35 in June, so the clock is ticking on that front. And, well, with so many drivers waiting for a seat, something's got to give. So then, a look at the current rumours surrounding Daniel Ricciardo making way later in the season for Liam Lawson thing. If this thing has made you think things about the thing, then like this thing so I know I've done a good job. And for more things like this, hit the subscribe button thing and ring the bell thing so you never miss out on anything that I do around here. Massive thanks as ever to the rad lads at Patreon for the continued support. And if you want to help out at a more personal level, then a link to Patreon is in the description, along with links to Discord, socials and other bits and pieces that you might want or need to know. So until next time, I've been Millward. Have a great day wherever you are, and goodbye.